I'm a fourth-year student at the Faculty of Electrical Engineering and Information Technologies in Skopje, Macedonia. And I worked on this project as part of my internship at Josef Stefan this summer. So today I will present our paper on context-aware stress detection in the AWARE framework. In general, stress can be defined as the body's response to any demand or perceived threat. While it can be useful in moderate amounts, persistent stress can have long-term harmful consequences. So in light of that, it is valuable to better understand and predict stress. Since our work is heavily centered around the AWARE framework, let me start by introducing AWARE. So according to their website, AWARE is an open source context instrumentation framework. In practice, it can be downloaded as a regular Android mobile application, and its purpose is to provide researchers and app developers alike access to data pertaining to the user's context. So this data can come from the phone sensors themselves, such as accelerometer, barometer, or any of the ones listed here as examples. It can also be information about app use or installation, and so on. Except for data coming directly from the phone, external devices can also be connected to the Android device, such as wristbands, and AWARE plugins for wristbands such as Fitbit and for Android Wear wristbands already exist. Additionally, what was also envisioned as part of the AWARE framework was extending the context through processing the existing information using machine learning algorithms. An example of this would be using physiological data, processing it in order to obtain information about the user's stress level, which would be the new higher level context. Our main motivation stems from the fact that stress detection was not available in the AWARE framework. Making it available would be useful for two main reasons. First of all, researchers can use the stress prediction in order to aid further studies on stress. An example would be using the stress prediction as a trigger for questionnaires to the users about their psychological state or surroundings. Additionally, app developers can use the stress prediction in order to adapt intelligent services to the user. One example would be postponing certain non-necessary notifications when the user is under stress. So what we ultimately created were two AWARE plugins. One is the AWARE stress detection plugin, and the other one is its prerequisite, the AWARE Empatica data streaming plugin. So as I mentioned, while AWARE plugins for other wristbands such as Fitbit do exist, there wasn't one for the more research-oriented Empatica E4 wristbands, so we created one. This is the overview of the functioning of the Empatica data streaming plugin. Its purpose is to allow easily connecting the Empatica E4 device to an Android phone. As you can see on the left, the Empatica device streams data via a low-energy Bluetooth connection to the Android device. The signals available from the Empatica in real time are skin temperature, acceleration, blood volume pulse, galvanic skin response, and interbit intervals. Once they are received in the Empatica plugin, they're both broadcasted and saved in local databases. The broadcasted data is meant for any kind of real-time use, such as display. And the data saved to database is available to any other app or plugin via content providers for more complex use or analysis. For example, our stress detection plugin uses data saved to database. Next, onto the stress detection plugin. The purpose of this plugin is to provide real-time stress predictions based on an already published stress detection method. This is a method developed by one of our co-authors. So even though there's no algorithmic novelty in our method, the purpose is implementing it in real time for the first time and making it available to a widespread audience through the AWARE framework. This is an overview of the stress detection method. It consists of three separate machine learning components. They are the lab stress detector, the activity classifier, and the context-based stress detector. So the lab stress detector reads data from database. This is the physiological data from the Empatica. It is called the lab stress detector since it is trained on data obtained in laboratory conditions during a standardized stress-inducing experiment where subjects were asked to solve equations under time as well as evaluation pressure. This is the machine learning pipeline for the lab stress detection model. It involves segmentation, filtering to reduce noise, and feature extraction using mathematical functions, regression analysis, time or frequency analysis, depending on the type of particular signal. A total of 70 features are extracted, and the model is trained using the support vector machine algorithm. The final prediction from the lab stress detector is a low, medium, or high level of stress. Next, we have the activity classifier. This model is important because physical activity elicits a physiological response similar to psychological stress. So in order to distinguish between the body's response to stress and to merely exercise or physical activity, any real-life stress detection model requires some sort of activity classifier. This model is trained on 60 minutes of empatica data from its acceleration sensor. The machine learning pipeline is similar to the lab stress detection model. A total of 52 features are extracted, which pertain to body posture and body motion. And the final algorithm is trained using the random forest algorithm. The final prediction from the activity classifier is a numeric stress level, which corresponds to either lying, sitting, standing or walking, and running or cycling. Next, we have the context-based stress detector. This model takes as its input the outputs from the models, from the two models I previously described. So it takes into account the lab stress prediction, the activity level prediction, a subset of the lab stress detection features, as well as context features, which are the time of day from 0 to 24 hours, and the type of day, meaning weekday or weekend. The context-based stress detector is trained on 1,327 hours of real-life data recorded and labeled by 5 participants. A total of 15 features are extracted, and the model is trained using the decision tree algorithm. Its final prediction is a binary stress or no stress prediction. So the 3 models I described are saved in the plugin as model files, and they are completely independent. They're triggered periodically using the optimal time windows found in the original studies. So our stress detection plugin uses the data written to database by the Empatica data streaming plugin, but the 2 plugins are independent, meaning that it can use data from any other wristband as long as its plugin writes to database in standard aware format. Additionally, the stress detection plugin writes its features and predictions for all 3 models to database, and these databases can be exported as CSV files or cleared through the plugin's user interface, which is represented here. In terms of future work, what can be done is, first of all, a normalization of the model based on the model's features, actually, to the particular person to account for inter-individual differences in the baseline levels for the signals. This would require recording baseline data through some sort of user interaction. Additionally, even though the original model was evaluated and achieved a 0.9 F-score on real-life data, its online use merits its own evaluation, which is currently in progress. In conclusion, though, once the plugins are published, streaming data from Empatica, as well as stress detection, will be available in Aware. That's it. Questions?
Any questions?
Recently there has been some research when they measured the left and right wrists, and not only they detect stress, they also detected anxiety, performance of the brain, asymmetry in the brain, negativity, and so forth. So I think it would be very interesting to look at that research and maybe use 2 wrist devices.
That's a good idea.
Are you familiar with any of that?
I'm not familiar that there has been maybe a difference recorded on both hands, but maybe we'll look into that. It's a good idea.
It reflects, I mean, the pressure reflects to the activity or left or right hemisphere. But very nice work, so thank you.
Thank you.
You said you're still testing this in real life, but Do you have some preliminary results, for example, test it on yourself if it works?
I mean, the plugin does work, the pipeline is set into place. There are, of course, some improvements that can be made, but since the initial pipeline is set, those are easier to implement now.
And how does it affect the battery life of the phone? Does it drain more quickly because it has this plugin in the background or not?
Yes, it does affect the battery life of the phone, but there are some changes and optimizations that can be done for that as well.
Okay. If there are no more questions, let's
Okay.
thank you.